This episode of the Restoration Today podcast is brought to you by Cotality. Restoration moves fast, and so should your technology. Cotality Restoration brings job data, communication, documentation, and reporting together in one place. Less chaos, more control, better outcomes. Cotality Restoration. Elevate every job. Find out more at cotality.com. Hey Restorers, welcome to this episode of the Restoration Today podcast. We are here to talk about INTRConnect because it is just around the corner when we are recording this, probably 6 weeks, I'm thinking, from the time that we are recording this. So INTRConnect, which is Cotality's conference, is happening January 20th through 22nd in Washington, D.C. It's going to be at the Gaylord, which is an amazing venue. So a reason alone to attend is Gaylords are always awesome, and it's DC. Some are kind of new for an industry show as of late. So I'm excited to have Matthew Parkerson here with me and Scott Sevier from Cotality. They are both in charge of different tracks that are going to be happening at the show. And we're here to talk about today, dive into what makes INTRConnect different, what you can expect to learn and be talking about at the show, what hopefully you'll be able to bring back to your company after the show. We were talking about offline how the last maybe 18 months or so has been a little tricky in the industry, and this is going to be the first show of 2026. I know that there's a lot of kind of excitement of going into 2026. A lot of contractors hoping, hey, hopefully this is the year that things kind of start to pick up again, things turn around, maybe some weather events, whatever that may be. So this event is a perfect way to start 2026 off strong. So Matthew Parkerson, I'm going to toss it over to you to introduce yourself first. For people who don't know Matthew, he is the Senior Director of Customer Innovation at Cotality. So Matthew, go ahead and kind of introduce yourself and share about what the track that you're over really quick, and then we'll go from there.
Outstanding. So, well, Michelle, if what you said isn't enough to get you to INTRConnect, the tracks that we have designed for all the different roles in the restoration industry, each one of those are geared towards making the entire ecosystem better, making your company better, right? What my role is with Cotality is working with the contractors and helping them get business outcomes with their data, right? My department works at one is helping build processes to collect the data and making sure that you're getting business outcomes from that data. Now, I head up the business operations track. It kind of runs jointly with the business owners track, and we focus on a couple of different things, right? We have one session called Disjointed or Dialed In. What that session entails is today's industry and today's restoration contractors, they're not hurting for a lack of data. If anything, it's too much data, and they need clarity of what to do with that data, right? The sheer amount of tech overload that we put on our technicians in the field, on our project managers, estimators, whatever that role, that title is, right? It's a bit of an overload. And now you have your project managers, your division leads, your general managers, your ops managers, whatever that title is, right? It is all these different tools, and all this data is in this disjointed or dialed in session. We're aiming to help them run a gap analysis on their business and see what processes, what people, what data tools are causing stop gaps, right? Today's industry is hard enough, right? With the labor turnover, the margins are tighter than they've ever been. So the first session we have about disjointed or dialed in allows you to look at, and we got Matthew Hensley, that's going to be helping us. And if y'all don't know Matt Hensley, he's an amazing, he's the president of the Corps. And he's going to be helping us on teaching the business operators how to run a gap analysis on their business, how you look for those stop gaps, and you'll be able to walk away with that, right? Now, the second session that we're having it's called Day One to Done Right. Now, for me, hiring the best people, the high performing people, is what you hire your next replacement, right? That is the way that we kind of look at it. And in that session, what we're aiming to accomplish is it's not about hiring someone and letting them go 2 weeks after they've onboarded. High performing operators, you've got to have high performing people, and that starts at day one. We want to focus how intentional onboarding and that development, the continuous development, reduce turnover and give you an ROI. You can't stop at month 6, right? You can't stop it at year 1. You've got to have a full strategy, a full roadmap. We're going to teach you how to do that. Then we're going to head into what's called production meetings that work. Working with contractors today, we see a lot of production meetings that are very reactive. hey, where is this document, or where are we at in job completion percentage, or what's the latest update on this? We're going to teach you how to run production meetings that drive clarity, that drive accountability, and that not only is this a time to make the job be progressive, but it's your time with that team member to develop yourself and develop them. That is a sacred time that you two need to have. Depending on your business model, it might be more than one. We're going to teach you how to be proactive in that meeting, right? And then we have one that's with Jody Lewis with Paul Davis. We also have Jennifer Woods with Thomasville Restoration, and we've got Tracy Goulet with Aladdin's Restoration. And this is what's called data to decision workshops. We're going to take real life examples that restoration companies struggle with, and we're going to show you how these top leaders in the industry address these problems, all the way to assessing it, building out a plan of how to accomplish it, and the measurables after that fact. So that's what the business operations track is going to have, and we look forward to having everyone there and really participate in it.
I love that. Okay, I have a lot of follow-ups for you. So I'm going to toss it over to Scott to introduce himself and talk about his track, and then we're going to kind of dive into this a little bit more. So Scott, SVP of Alliances and Industry Relations, which I think is like the coolest title. I was looking at that earlier and I'm like, "Ooh, that's one of those like fancy, sorry, titles that means you get to like have good relationships with people and that's what you do best." So it's a great title. Anyway, I digress. Scott, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Kind of a dream job if you know my personality. It's
Yeah.
it's uh it's pretty awesome. I get to talk to a lot of people. Um, Actually crafted that with Garrett because one of the things, so I'm over our Digital Hub Alliance, all of our integrations that help other vendors integrate with us and help us touch the market in as many ways as possible. We've got a really great team that runs a lot of that. And then the industry relations piece is I'm getting old. I've been here a long time. I mean, a very long time. I won't go into all the years anymore. I used to say how many years because I wanted to look like I was longer in the tooth than I was. Now it's the opposite. But yeah, distance to front is a big deal as you become a bigger and bigger company. Um, and we'll talk about that in our tracks a little bit, what that means. And at each level, the distance to front gets a little bit more difficult for the executive team, people that are doing a lot of the decision making aren't out in the field as much as they used to be, and they're not, touching all the leads the way they used to, and touching road, so to speak, as the kids say. But and so how do you combat that? And so one of my roles is I meet with all of our executives on a regular basis. I report to one of our executives, and a lot of that is just about getting back through all the noise, what's actually happening. Because believe it or not, we actually really care what's happening on the front lines, because the front lines is where you really win and lose the battle. So if you want to talk about my track a little bit, so
Yes.
first of all, I'll say we've got tracks for everyone, and I mean everyone. One of the cool things about our show is we bring everyone together. It's been intentional from the start, and with the tracks, we try to break out. A lot of shows take it as a vacation maybe and get some training while you're there and meet some people, and you get a lot of good ideas, and you come back and your team's in a different world in a different time. They're running on their current time, and then you're coming back in and blowing things up potentially, and making a bunch of changes because you have all these bright ideas. And we really encourage people to bring their whole team. We've got tracks for them. We've got 5 different tracks for the restoration side. We've got tracks for the carrier side and for the third parties that serve the industry. Really, really try to go deep and wide on that. And we put different people in charge of different tracks so that we can dive deep and make sure we're really getting the content we want. For ours, for the business owner track, the one that I'm involved with, really excited. Garrett likes to talk to the contractors anytime he can. And so he's going to kick things off with kind of a fireside chat. And the overarching theme is right now, claims are down, there's still M&A going on. There's a lot of stuff happening in the industry. And we're going to double down on leadership principles for the business owners. And what I mean by that is different than just broad-based leadership. Garrett's been through a lot of things. I've watched him through a lot of it. I've competed with him, walked beside him, and he's got some unique insight. You hear the old saying, "What got you here won't get you there." Well, it's very true when you're trying to grow a company. When PE companies come in, a lot of times they replace the the president or the CEO of whatever's driving a small company. Team is really important. System is really important. There's a lot of stuff like that we'll talk through. But Garrett's going to give his personal insights on what it's been like, what walls he hit at the different levels, and what it takes to get through those levels, and more of a personal journey. And a lot of really cool advice. A lot of the boardrooms he's been in, he's going to share some of the advice he's gotten and really what he struggled with. And then we're going to have Lucas come in from Sanctum, one of the top sales organizations in our industry. Lucas knows it very well. He knows us very well, and so I think he'll be uniquely positioned to help with that. But he's going to talk about how do you hit those different levels from a sales perspective. When do you add a sales manager? When do you outsource, things like that, and what's involved with that, and what kind of money decisions are you making? And it's a very in-depth. We've worked with that one a lot. And then the next day we're going to have Chris and Brandon from Floodlight, and they're going to come in and talk about what does the leader need to do specifically. Garrett's talking about, here's some things I face, here's some things you might face. They're going to say, here's some traits that you need, and here's some things that you need to put into your organization at each level, and talk about it through the lens of you're up and coming, you're wearing the tool belt sometimes, you're still wearing a lot of hats, to how do you run a $40 million enterprise? Because if you're trying to grow to that, you need to see what's coming in advance. In between that, we're lacing in, of course, Michelle, you'll be there with Leighton to talk about the state of the industry. I think you just did a recent pulse check, and we've talked a lot about this too. We do a lot of preparation for these tracks and for our keynote content, and I'm pretty excited about what you're going to share for them. You got some very unique insights, and you're welcome to talk about that if you want. But and we're going to have our product team come in and talk about what's coming in the future. Here's some things you might have missed that we've released. You'll be surprised how often that happens. And then we've always got a few surprises that we're announcing at our show, that if you come to the show, you get some special perks and special knowledge that's not out in the industry yet. So you'll get some of that too. We've got a really exciting lineup for you. And I've done this every year, and every year I say I couldn't be more excited, but it's actually true. We try to do better each year. And wow, the lineup we have right now, I'd pay a lot of money to come and see, just knowing what it was. I'll stop there. I do have, there's another session that kind of wraps everything up, but I'll stop there for now.
Okay. So I love that one of the things that I've noticed that INTRConnect does a little bit differently is, you go to shows and there are these tracks, and it's kind of like you can pop in and pop out, and you might pick like to go to this breakout and then not go to this one, whatever. I feel like would you recommend that to people, or do you recommend this is more like a multi-day, almost like workshop, because you've woven everything together as almost a journey, no matter what track you're in? Would you guys say that? Would you say like, yeah, if you're going to come, please come to the full business ops track, please come to the full owners track, accounting, marketing, whatever that may be? Matthew, you have a take on that?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, right? We put a lot of time and effort to making sure that the entire ecosystem is represented, to where if you stick with the business ops track, you could slide over to the business owners track, or if you see something in the field operations track, but we do recommend you try to stay in that vertical. Now, with that being said, all of these different tracks, these different sessions, we meet weekly to make sure we're aligned. We want to make sure that when they walk away, what is being taught in the field technician or the sales and marketing or the field operations or the business owners or the business op track, right? It's a cohesive message. It's applicable to the entire ecosystem. So we want to make sure that you are taking it from beginning to end. So when you walk out, that you truly have an action plan to better your business. So we spend a lot of time in preparation, ensuring that when you as team members leave, doesn't matter what your role is. If I have someone in business operations track, and I have someone in field operations track, and I have someone in technician track, all of these are going to be practical application things you can do to impact your business the day that you leave.
Perfect. Scott, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so I agree with Gary. It goes back to Gary, but we were small companies back in the day, and so we talk in different levels. But I didn't like this idea of having tracks the first time it was presented many years ago, and I just thought, people are going to come. They can't afford it. Lots of reasons that you would give. And it was the most unique thing of our early shows. And then the most lauded thing. People were like raving about that. I'm going to bring more people next year. And we were able to get lots of footage of people saying that to help other people understand. And I thought about it. I think the reason is, one is you don't think about the investment you need in your people. We always say our people are most important, but then we try to run them on all the margins because there's so many things you're trying to solve as a business owner. And that's your most expensive resource. And so you've already put a lot of money into people. So I totally get that. Run a small company, understand. But when you're creating your vision that you're coming back and bombing your company with every so often, as humans, we think in pictures. And being there, they say, one day on land beats 1,000 days on water if you're trying to teach a fish how to walk. It's like when they're there and they're interacting and you're interacting with your team in that context of an industry-wide situation, you're thinking broad strokes, it's a lot easier to get your vision across to people. And you're doing it in small chunks throughout the days, through these little moments at dinners or whatever. And everybody's focused on how do we make the company better for that whole 3 days. And then when you come back, you have callback conversations to different things. And when I was there, I was learning this, I was learning that. And it's a very, very unique opportunity. And as a small business owner, I would not miss it now that I know how valuable it is. Even though at the beginning I was like, yeah, we don't need that. Let's keep trucking on hard. In fact, I'm the guy to talk to if you want to learn from your mistakes, because I've made a lot of them. That's how I learned a lot of them. That's not the smart way to go about business. There's a better way, and it's talking to people who have been there before and done it before. And we have some of the industry's best that come in and gather, and you have these little conversations, and you get some specific to your skill set, you get some specific knowledge. Some of the tracks that we're not talking about today, at the business owner level, we stay kind of broad stroke. When we get down to the technicians, they're actually doing hands-on work. It's a workshop. They're doing a lot of hands-on there because that's what they need. They're not doing the vision piece, they're doing the execution piece. And so that's what we're focused on. It's actually quite amazing. And I don't sell stuff if I don't believe in it.
Yeah.
This is the most no-brainer move you can make as a company, is coming to this show.
And Scott, I think also what needs to be highlighted there, and you hit the nail, you said it perfectly, is there's a lot of great shows in this industry, right? There are a lot of them. I think where we separate ourselves is it's interconnect. We're not up there telling you what to do or how to do it. A lot of these answers come from when you're working with people inside of your sessions, the conversations, the people that you meet, right? We have great ideas. We work with some of the best of the best in the industry, right? But each track is designed where you are forced to connect with other people that are in that track. And that brings a collaboration that you don't see every day. You see these people working together and they're coming to solutions together, right? They're addressing problems like, yeah, I have that same problem. What do you do about this? Or how do we handle this situation? And when you have not only the best of the best in the industry, and we got the best of the best that are also attending that aren't helping us represent or helping us present, but you also see these people working together, and you literally see the light bulb go off. You see it. You see it. It's just like, I get it. Like I get it by working with these other great people in the industry and addressing these problems as a team, because that's the design of INTRConnect, right? Is we want you working with everybody, and those connections that are made. I have stories that now they literally come to INTRConnect year after year after year to spend time and make these connections with these other contractors, right? Because that is so valuable to them.
Okay, so that was actually, I am tweaking one of the questions we were going to talk about a little bit. And we've talked a lot about what's going to happen this year and what you guys are excited about. But I'm curious if you have stories from past INTRConnect conferences where you're like, oh, I had a conversation with this contractor and this made a difference, or like a favorite memory or something that you have from a past INTRConnect that you really, every year, that kind of keeps you driving forward. Like, this is our why. This very moment was like, this captured why we do this. Either of you have a good story?
Boy,
I know I do.
Go ahead.
And as you say that, Michelle, I literally got goosebumps, right?
Okay.
2 years ago, we decided to do a panel with some of the operators in the industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of segregated that out based on certain revenue ranges. And this was standing room only, right? And what we did in this panel is we asked real life questions. We didn't break it down to, hey, how much do you pay your project manager, or what's your KPI? But we wanted real life problems, and we addressed it. And we had a couple of ladies on the panel, and we asked a question about what are some of the roadblocks you've encountered in your career that you could give advice to the people in the audience, that they don't come into this. And this lady, and Tracy Goulet, I'll say it, Tracy's awesome. She stood up and she talked about the hardship of being a woman in historically a male dominated industry. And it brought tears to the audience. The struggle she's had through the years, the struggle she still has today, what she does to overcome that, the belief she has built inside of herself, what she has done outside of work to help establish or build her confidence and handle these situations. And it had people in the room crying, and it got like, when she was done with that, she was in tears, and everybody in the audience stood up. And it was honestly one of the more motivational things I've ever been experienced with in my life.
I love that. That's a great story. Scott,
I'll
good
tell you
luck.
one story, and I can see his face right now. Before I saw his face, we were on the phone and we were talking about coming to the show. And he said, Scott, just level with me. Like, budgets are tight. Should I bring people? And I'm an empathizer by nature. And so my nature would be to say, yeah, you don't really need to bring them. But I almost said his name. I said, yeah, I will buy you dinner. I can't buy all your people. I can't refund everything you're bringing, but you're going to buy me dinner later when you come back and say, okay, that was totally worth it, and I made my money back. I said, you can take a year to whatever metric you want to measure. And he called me about 2 months after the show and said, hey, I owe you dinner. I was like, really? What's going on? I forgot all about that conversation because it was 6 months prior. So it'd been, 8 or 9 months or more. But he said, yeah, he goes, I've been thinking about that, and everything we did, it got us off to a great start. We're in a better spot now. We're making more money, because my whole thing was, you got to sharpen the saw. It's not my analogy. I think it was Stephen Covey at some point. But if you don't sharpen the saw, my wife's family's in tree trimming, so I've seen real life examples, and it's amazing how those saws cut like butter for a while, and then they don't, and you got to stop and sharpen it. If you don't stop and sharpen it, you're just getting slower and slower. And it seems like when times are tough, we tend to double down on effort, and which is great. But the old saying is, if you're looking at a map of Scottsdale and you're trying to drive around Phoenix, it doesn't matter how hard you try. And sometimes you got to kick back and sharpen that saw. And that's what this allowed him to do. And he did buy me dinner, and we're great friends. And that was one of those friendships that started off from a sales conversation, and now we're awesome friends. Lots of great stories like that.
Those are both great stories. Oh, good. Okay. All right. Anything else that either of you want to talk about or tease out a little bit from the show? Any other content, any other sessions, anything else that you want to tease a little bit?
Yeah, I think one thing is, if you've been to the show, if you haven't been to the show, our company has a flair for putting on an event that just feels awesome.
Yeah.
And we're focused a lot on content now, because we think our goal is, when you're flying away, going home, what did you take away? I don't know how many times people go to an event and you say, that was great. What did they talk about? They're like, I don't know. It was just awesome. And so we want that as a minimum bar. We want it to be awesome, but you need to take stuff away. And that's why we're talking about the details of what you'll be taking away. But let's don't forget about the awesome. I mean, there's something about the magic of all the people involved, between Lucy and Garrett and the people helping us put it on. It's quite an event. It's really well done. You'll be transported to another place, and you'll say, when I get back to the real world, this is the real world. It's just curated to be better than what your normal real world feels like. And so it's an experience. Garrett's going to do a keynote. He always does a pretty impressive, elaborate keynote. And I just realized I'm talking about Garrett too much. It's just
Sorry.
so many conversations with him lately, I guess. But we've got so much great content, but the production value is amazing. And this year we're doing, Matthew, you can talk about it a little bit more. We're doing life cycle of a home from the buyer's perspective, looking for a home. How do you do that? And then all that's wrapped up into a home. When you think about your home, you just got into a new home, Michelle. There's a lot that goes into it. And there's a lot of your life as you look back through all your pictures and memories and everything. The house is more than just a place to lay your head. It's a part of you. It's part of your identity. It's part of your protection that you give to your family. It's such a big deal. And we're going through the whole life cycle and talking about how our products hit at different spots and what you may or may not know about them, things like that. But the production value will be off the charts. And that's the basic string. Did I do a good job on that, Matthew?
You did.
Matthew was telling me earlier, and I got excited just hearing him. So
I think we as restoration contractors, I think something that needs to be noted about INTRConnect is it's very easy as a restoration contractor. I was one myself for many, many years. It's easy to get stuck in a silo that this is what I do. This is what my company does. And we lose sight of that homeowner who had the struggle of first of being able to get the house to get it insured, right? And even before that, the underwriting perspective of what that takes. Then the whole life cycle of moving in, and once you have it insured, and then what happens if a loss happens, and how is that all encapsulated in the full life cycle of the insurance ecosystem, right? And we challenge the people that come to think outside of that silo, right? We want them to really consider like other factors that come into play, and does that impact your business decisions, right? We're not asking Michelle Contracting, right? Michelle Blevins Contracting to go be an underwriter, or go write the policy, but it's good to know a little bit about that. Yep. It's good to understand that full life cycle because it does impact how you perform daily. We have homeowners that don't have losses every day. We have commercial properties that don't have losses every day. And for us, we deal with those every day, right? So we at INTRConnect want to challenge you to really think outside of your silo and what you do, because it's going to make sure that your customer has a better experience, right?
What a lot of people don't realize is you hear a lot about agentic AI. That's the latest buzzword. Mm-hmm. But the way AI is taking off and changing, it's here to stay, and it's going to enhance a lot of things for us. But it's all based on data and training the data. And Cotality has invested for years in these different markets. And a lot of people don't know, because we're focused on insurance. We have 85% of the MLS runs through us, a lot of financial tools. A lot of people pay their taxes based on our reporting, things like that. A lot of products that we have that touch the homeowner before claims ever gets involved. Underwriting being the most near term, and probably where we spend a lot of our time with the on the insurance side. But all that data that's not on the insurance side is accessible to us, and nobody has that. That's an advantage that we have that we want to bring to bear for our users. And we've already introduced some tools where you can look things up about the property before you go. There's more of that coming. I can't say everything because some of it's going to be announced at this show. Some of it's going to be announced at the next show, 27 and 28. But the track we're on to help our customers use our tools to help their customers have a great experience is amazing. And we're well positioned to deliver year after year on that. And we want to paint that vision of here's what we're looking at. We're trying to tie everything back together in a way that matters to you on the front lines.
Perfect. I like
Michelle,
it.
I think it would be beneficial to tell one more like story that is impactful, right? We have great relationships with carriers, right? It's part of what we do at Cotality, right? Great relationships with TPAs. Well, I'm not going to say who the gentleman was, but he snuck out of the carrier side and he went in on the contractor side, and he went to a couple business owners classes, a field ops class and a business ops class. And I was having an adult beverage with him. We'll leave it at that, right, later in the evening. And he said to me, This was the most influential thing that's happened to me in the last 5 years in my role, right? And he oversaw a very large division inside of his company, and he said, I never saw it from a contractor's perspective till I sat in. Like everybody's afraid we give out the secret sauce to the carriers or vice versa, right? This gentleman literally got to see what it's like from a restoration contractor's perspective, which changed his whole mindset of how he's handling his division and handling his claims and their conversations with the contractors. And to me, that is powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. For people that have not been to Interconnect, I will like double down on the production is different, the content is different. Last year, you guys went through a whole rebrand after having to move the date from January to March or whatever that was, and a rebrand in the middle of the show. You do all the things. So, okay, anything else that you guys want to tease out as being excited about? There's going to be, I know you guys do networking and great after hours parties and coffee breaks in between. There's lots of stuff to do, lots of places to have good dialogue and conversations with people aside from, you know, sitting in class or going to keynotes or whatever that may be. Anything else that you guys want to tease out a little bit?
I don't know. You see, I guess if you could play that piece back really slow, everything you said is like valuable pieces. The conversations, the atmosphere, the content from the keynotes on down to the breakouts. Um, it's it's very well curated, very well thought through to give you ROI on your experience. And I do think the number one thing that I hear from people, because I talk to a lot of vendors and a lot of contractors, that's where I spend most of my time at the show because of my roles. Um, Contractors and vendors are like, wow, I actually did business at your conference, like meaningful conversations. And if they can take away, you know, one or two epiphanies that change the direction for 2026, it's worth it. And they're taking a bag of epiphanies away. And I guess the problem with that would be too many epiphanies. You know, how do you execute on all of them? So a good problem to have, I would say.
Yeah. Yes, and you touched on the vendors. So you guys will have your vendor area as well. And in a time when technology can feel overwhelming and there's a lot of options out there, this is another really good opportunity starting the year strong to talk to the different vendors. Even if you're seeing what, check out what they're seeing in the industry and see what else is out there that can help with your operations or your processes or whatever that may be. Because things are changing very rapidly. So okay, there's still time to register. We are, it sounds like room block is almost full. I do know that, thanks to MC giving us some tips and pointers ahead of time. So interconnect.cotality.com is where people can go to register. There's still a team discount, I believe, buy four, get one free. So there's still time to get in on that. Okay, gentlemen, anything else that I missed that you want to add in there?
One more thing, just since we were talking about the vendors, we for the last 3 years have been looking almost at a strategy of fewer, better, stronger. We've got the tagline says no one company can do it all. We believe that. Modern times are we connect and figure out how to put a lot of tools at play. We see ourselves as a platform. We think the best and most proper platform you can plug into. But we've got a lot of great vendors, and some of them we compete with some of our products. As a platform, you have a lot of endpoint solutions that you bring to market, and we're not afraid of that. We want to give the best we can. We still have to protect data. We still have to protect, you know, our investors, things like that. But our basic tenet has always been, I mean, from the Symbility days, Symbility was the first company to really push integration in the market. And it was a strategy that they needed and did well. But in the early 2000s, we were still command and control type leadership, and there were still a lot of silos. Things hadn't broken out the way they had. And so you would put your arms around a market and hold it as tight as you can and put up walls and try to do everything you can to keep people there and keep them happy. That's not the way business is done now. And I'm proud of the fact that Cotality has led the charge on that through its roots, through the smaller companies. But we believe in integration. We've got some great vendors. And whether you buy from them or not, having the conversations with them, seeing what they're bringing to market and how they're bringing it and why and what their customers are telling them, it's all edifying. And it'll give you a chance at those epiphanies that you're looking for. you know, you look at 10 tools, none of them really sing to you. All of a sudden this one goes, wow, that I could make a difference with that like today. So
the vendors know a lot. That's what I tell people all the time. Like, don't misinterpret that the vendors are just there to sell to you. The vendors know a lot, especially the ones that have been in the industry a long time. They have probably talked to a lot of contractors, know a lot of data points as well, and can really maybe help you problem solve issues that you're having in your company. So don't miss out on talking to the vendors and kind of leaning into their knowledge as well.
absolutely.
Yeah. Matthew, any final thoughts?
Yeah, if you're on the fence and debating, hey, claim volume's down, money's tighter than it's ever been, right? Then I think that's when you need to double down and attend, right? We know margins have been tighter than they've ever been. There's been an expectation shift in the industry, right?
Yep.
Especially with claim volume down. INTRConnect is going to give you renewed momentum. It is. You're going to leave with tools that really help your operations, stabilize your operations, gives you a good game plan going into 26 and beyond. Choosing to come to INTRConnect is a non-negotiable. It is what is going to separate you from your competition that think they have it figured out, because it takes everybody. Michelle, you talk about the vendors. Yes, talk to those vendors. We don't partner with vendors. Yeah, they have to sell. They have an objective, but we partner with vendors that help our ecosystem, right? So if you're on the fence of whether you should or should not come right now is when you need to double down and you need to buy your tickets, because it will make a difference not only in 26 but the years beyond that.
Perfect.
Well, and you know the old story, bears coming down the hill, charging at the two guys by the fire, and one guy starts putting on his shoes, and the guy said, "It's a bear. You can't outrun a bear." He goes, "I don't have to outrun the bear."
I can outrun you,
Right?
man.
You got to outrun. And so when markets are tough and times are hard, it sucks for everybody. It's not fun. But the best companies tend to gain an advantage over the market at that point, because the really bad companies die off quickly. The poorly run companies are exposed, and the companies that have systems, well thought out design, and they're executing, those companies end up thriving compared to everyone else. And when the tide comes back, you know, they've got a lot more market share and a lot more, they're able to scale quickly when the jobs do come back. And
I think, Scott, it's to be noted, they didn't come up with that on their own. They had support from the best of the best in the industry. They had support from different aspects of the industry. In INTRConnect, you work with other contractors, you work with the presenters, you work with all the people. So what Scott's referring to is that top 10% that really moved the industry. They didn't do that on their own, right? They did that by connecting with the right people and learning the processes and learning what doesn't work. And you'll get that. You'll definitely get that.
When times are tough, you double down on systems and execution. And we believe this will help you do that for 2026.
Perfect. All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you so much for your time. So people who are listening, again, it's interconnect.cotality.com. You can find the links everywhere on the CNR website, on the Cotality website, on social media. You can find it, I promise you. Gentlemen, I look forward to seeing you both in January. Thank you very much.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
For more Restoration Today and the latest news, visit our website, cnrmagazine.com, and find the latest episodes of the Restoration Today podcast on your favorite podcasting platform.